probably be a quieter year in the portal. And that's probably good news because that's an indication that they plan on getting a lot of guys back. One name that was thrown out there that took me by surprise was Nick Jackson, the Virginia linebacker. And I published the clip from that show earlier today. If you want to check it out, it's over on my channel, From the Hawkeye of the Storm on YouTube. But basically what Brad said is consistent with what the rumors have been regarding Nick. And I had just attributed those to just being rumors. But I think Brad's a pretty reliable source on this. Iowa has filed for paperwork to request an extra year of eligibility for Nick Jackson. Now, he would still have to want to come back. It sounds like what I was doing is they're trying to get it in place so that he can make that decision, and it's his decision to make. It sounds like what Brad said is that some of his old teammates from Virginia have already announced they're returning to school, expecting that the NCAA would give them an extra year. And if you don't know why we're talking about an extra year, Virginia had their season cut short last year. Yes, only by 2 regular season games, but then you add in a bowl game, that's 3 games. You got an extra year back for COVID when you lost, teams lost anywhere from, 4 to 6 or more games. Again, different circumstances, I understand, but the circumstances around the Virginia season being cut short were extremely tragic. And it would be great for Iowa if they could get Nick Jackson back. And I got some indication today, and this is more just a hunch, but somebody who's well connected to the situation told me they would not be surprised if Iowa either gets both back or neither back. In other words, Nick Jackson and Jay Higgins are really close. And is Jay Higgins going to improve his stock coming back? I mean, a phenomenal year. He's not Jack Campbell from a physical standpoint to impress scouts, but he had as productive a year as you could expect. He's been here a while. He probably is not going to improve his stock anymore coming back next year. Now, maybe, the Swarm and some NIL incentives can convince him, but he's roommates with Nick Jackson, and Nick Jackson has loved it at Iowa. I would say if one of those guys decides to come back, the other probably does. That's kind of the indication I was given today, but we'll see. A lot of these we're probably not going to hear final word until after the bowl game.
We hit on this question when you jumped online with us during the Big Ten Live show on Monday in regards to a transfer quarterback. And you just believe, and I think Elliott's right there as well, although he was closer to a 50-50 proposition of them possibly going out and signing a transfer quarterback. I just think they're in a situation where Cade McNamara is the starter. And even if you're pleased and satisfied with what he would most likely bring, which our best sample of that is the 2021 season with Michigan, really good quarterback play, not exceptional, not top of the line, but certainly for what Iowa wants to do on offense.
And not indicative of what he would do with an Iowa offense, even healthy. I know he was not healthy when he played this year, but we don't know what he'd do with Iowa's system players. We don't know what the system's going to be exactly with the new OC.
But considering first of all, I think it would be good for him to have to fight for the job myself. I don't think he's at that level. But that's fine. If you do make that determination that you're great with him as the starting quarterback, just with the injuries that he has faced over the last 2 years, the odds of him making it through a full season. Okay, if he doesn't make it through a full season, sure, with an exceptional defense and special teams, they are going to win games with, let's say, Deacon Hill at quarterback, but still placing yourself one play away from having arguably the worst quarterback play in the conference with a much more difficult road to travel with the schedule next season. I just don't know why they wouldn't go for a transfer quarterback myself.
Well, personally, I think, they grabbed Deacon Hill in the portal, and that was kind of a last-ditch thing because they lost Carson May after the bowl game last year. And, that probably could have been averted. I won't get into that. I've talked about it at length. But I think maybe the reason I stand where I stand on this, Mark, is not in disagreement with what you said about Cade McNamara, but it's more so I think I'm just a little higher on Marco Lainez. Now, I will acknowledge this. I don't, and I've said this publicly, and I'm not ashamed to say it. As of right now, until we get an announcement about who the next OC/quarterbacks coach is, I don't have any faith in Iowa's ability to evaluate quarterback play. Why should I? Why should I have any faith in their ability to develop or evaluate quarterback play? Look at what kind of quarterback play we've had since 2020. 4 seasons now. We've had 3 years of Spencer Petras and basically a year of Deacon Hill. I'm not going to put this on Cade McNamara because, again, he was hurt. Part of that is the offense. I get it. Part of it's play calling. Part of it's what you got around you. But quarterback play has been abysmal, to say the least. So I don't like, even if you have Marco Linez or frankly anybody from the portal, I don't know how Iowa will use them. Would I be shocked if Cade McNamara comes back healthy next year and his numbers look very similar to what we got from Deacon Hill last half of the season? I would be surprised from a standpoint of I don't know how it can get any worse, especially when you're switching coordinators. Now, if Brian was coming back, I might say, hey, no, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Frankly, Cade's numbers didn't look good at all during the first 4 games when he was banged up. First 4 games of the year, a couple of those games were against very beatable opponents. Western Michigan, I think he threw 2 or 3 picks in that game. So I think I just have a little bit more confidence in Marco Linez. I'm not convinced that they'll use him effectively or evaluate him effectively or even develop him to where he needs to be a year from now effectively. And I even said to Brad, and Brad agreed, this is his comment from a fan. He said, I'd like to see Marco Linez as well in the bowl game. And Coach Patterson and I have been talking about that for months. Like, give him a package. You don't got to switch starters, but give him a package. For Pete's sake, a year ago, you played Kentucky and you won 21-0. And you got to give Iowa credit because their main objective in that game was to win the game. The problem is, and I don't think Kirk sees things this way, the problem is Kirk looks at these postseason games as an opportunity for another win on the schedule and a trophy. I really do believe that's how he looks at it. And that is true. That is one way to look at it. But the scene of this bowl world is changing, has changed. And is that fair to continue to just look at it through that lens, or is it fair to look at a game like this coming up against Tennessee, in which they're going to already have Tennessee's already announced they got several players not playing, so some of their better players not playing. Perhaps it's an opportunity in the Citrus Bowl, place Iowa's been. They were there 2 years ago, to maybe use it as a mini tryout for next spring. And what I mean by that is play some of the younger guys. It doesn't necessarily have to be every freshman on the roster, but play Marco Linez. Maybe you get Ben Keeter some run. None of these guys, Marco has not played a snap this year. So most of these freshmen you can play, and it's not going to affect their eligibility in any way. So I don't know why you wouldn't play Marco Linez, but if the only objective is do anything we can to win the game, what we're going to see on January 1st, most likely, Mark, is another game similar to what we saw last year against Kentucky. Now, I think Tennessee's a better team this year than Kentucky was a year ago, but my point is Iowa's going to give Deacon Hill very little rope to hang himself with and cash in on any mistakes that Iowa gets from Tennessee. And they'll be fine with a 14-10 win or a 14-4 win or whatever it is. They'll get there. So that would be my 2 cents on the game. I'd like to see some run. It didn't make any sense last year why we didn't get to see Carson May. And I know there was talk about him kind of already having made his decision about entering the portal prior to the game, but what harm would it have done had you put Carson May out there instead of maybe running Sam Laporta as a Wildcat quarterback, which is what Iowa did to be cute? Maybe actually give another quarterback some run. Alex Padilla, people forget, Alex Padilla was already in the portal at that point. Spencer Petras was hurt at that point. There was only one other scholarship quarterback on the roster. His name was Carson May. He did not see a single snap in that game. And Joe Labus had not seen a single snap before that game. So the fact that Carson May didn't get a single snap in that game made zero sense.
The other reason I make the statement that I do about pursuing a quarterback is, and then you countered with the development issue or the question of the confidence in developing a quarterback, and I totally get that. However, we have more quality starting quarterbacks in the transfer portal than we have ever seen in the transfer portal. I could make a selection sitting here 1,000 miles away and make a selection of a quarterback. And even if you took the top 15 off the board, I could still select a quarterback out there that would compete with Cade McNamara for the job.
This is every year, though. Every year it's going to be this way. Is that fair to say? It's been this way. This is year 3. It's been zoo as it relates to quarterbacks. Now, did you get the news right before we went on the air? I didn't mention it to you, but I just got an alert that Wisconsin did land a commitment out of Tyler Van Dyke.
Whoa, to Wisconsin.
He was visiting, I think, earlier this week, over the weekend, I think. So now is Mordecai out of eligibility?
I didn't think so. Maybe he was no, he only had he had 2 starting seasons at SMU.
So there you
Maybe he
go.
was.
Like that might be an example of Wisconsin's bringing in a guy to compete, but it's hard to. I would think it's hard to sell to someone, especially if it's the Iowa offense. Like you're going to come here and you're not guaranteed the job. Now, something that Elliott said yesterday that I didn't agree with, and I love Elliott, but he made the comment about how Cade seems to be the type of guy that needs to know he's the starter. I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, like I'm not saying that Iowa ever said you are the starter, but like you don't want that. Like he should believe he's the best guy and he should
Yeah.
believe he's going to win the starting job. But that to me, I just didn't like. Maybe he kind of misrepresented what he was trying to say. But yeah, Tyler Van Dyke to Wisconsin, and I'm trying to think of who else. Who else? The Big Ten. Sounds like Kyle McCord might be headed to Nebraska. We'll wait and see on that. I know there aren't no divisions, but I'm just thinking about teams from the Big Ten West this year that will be upgrading at that all important position. Hudson Card is back next year at Purdue, and Athian Kaliakmanis he's gone, right? He entered the
Yes.
portal. So where is Minnesota with their quarterback?
Yeah.
Do they have one? So they're going to be
PJ Fleck has not had a good 5 or 6 months between off the field allegations, which I don't know what's going on with that, and then the worst season that they've had under his direction. And now he loses his starting quarterback who had no competition that I know of. Why he would lose his starting quarterback. Back to Tyler Van Dyke, if anyone's interested in a quick thumbnail, you would have watched this guy play the 8 games that he played in 2021. He was ticketed to be like a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He just tore through 8 weeks against pretty quality defenses, like 350 a week, 3 or 4 touchdowns every week. And then Rhett Lashley left. Josh Gaddis took over the offense. And he was a mess last year, got hurt, poor offensive line play, poor wide receiver play, didn't help. And then this year he got off to a great start. If you put in the Texas A&M tape, he looks like, again, he's ready to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He was throwing lasers, NFL window kind of throws. And then the next 5 or 6 weeks, he falls apart. He had a stretch of 11 turnovers in 4 games. He misses a lot of reads, gets fooled. DBs, fool him all the time, bait him into interceptions. So he's got a lot of talent. He's got the arm talent to play at the next level, no doubt.